Alright, so it is now time for probably the second most popular story that I have told in the past, and that is the rainbow testicle. Now, this is a story that if you are a male is not for the faint of heart. You will feel my pain. Believe me, by the time this is done. One summer, when I was still, while I was still doing a lot of biking, when I was younger I did a lot of biking. I was using, you know, my first real multi-gear bike, mountain bike. And man, I love this bike. When I was younger, I had always wanted to have a bike with bull horns. Something innately cool to me about bull horns on the handles of a bike. And I wanted a mountain bike. I wanted a multi-gear bike. You know, that was the thing when I was a kid. One of the things was, you know, if you had a bike, it better have been one with, like, as many gears as you could. The more gears, the better. And so my first gear bike, which is what we called them, was a 12-speed. We also called them speed bikes, but 12-speed. Okay, so there's 12 gears. And I had put a lot of mileage on this bike, and I had put it through some shit. And one day I was biking around and I noticed that my gear... Oh no, sorry, wait, hold on. No, sorry, this wasn't my 12 gear. This was the second bike. So this was a 21 gear. It's a 21 gear bike. And I noticed that... No, wait, was it my 21 gear bike? Jesus, it's been so long. Sorry, no, it's the 12 speed. 12 speed. So... because this happened before the trip from hell. So, I'm on my bike. I'm noticing that my gears are switching or tripping in the top gear, 12th gear. The chain is skipping on me. When I'm pedaling in 12th gear, the chain is skipping and almost coming loose, coming off the gear. So I wanted to see when it was happening, if there was a bend in the chain or something, so I was going to test this to see, you know, I was going to look down and see where, during the change from 11th to 12th gear, what happens when the gears change. And my buddy Ryan, which we all remember Ryan now, the wonderful gentleman from the boat ride with the migraine who told that woman to go kill herself, basically. He was over at the time, and he was waiting for me to just check this so that we could go hang out for the rest of the day. Because we just finished biking. He was standing up on my lawn. So the idea was I had to get up to speed first, obviously, and then I had to, you know, actually do the thing and change gears. So let's do a rough representation of what this was like. So here's my street. We've got the houses and everything. Okay. So, the idea with it was to get up to speed and everything. This is my house here. Okay, and Ryan is standing up on the doorstep here. And I'm, my bike traveling path was to start over here. That's a line tool, a line tool. So start over here and get up to speed, take this corner, and roughly around the time I would get to about here is when I could get up to about 12th gear. Get up fast enough that I could actually change it to 12th gear and get good speed. So, I pedal myself all the way down to here, and I get my bike into first gear, and I make sure there's no cars going to come in off the main road. The main road's like over here somewhere. We're on a crescent. And get ready to go. So I start pedaling, and I'm pedaling my little heart out. And I'm pedaling faster, and I'm into, you know, 3rd gear, 4th gear, 5th gear, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, so on and so forth. And when we get to about here, yeah, roughly here. And, I get to change into gear. So this is about the time where I have to look down. So I'm pedaling, 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 pedaling. And I'm looking down at my gears now while I make the change into 12th gear. And I make the change, and I see the chain start to move up into the last rung, into that 12th gear, and I can see where it skips, and I go, great, now I know where it is. Suddenly I hear, Adam Lucro. Yes, it sounded like that in slow motion, because when I looked up, what happens? I'm like, here. This red thing's a car. It's a parked car. And I was on a collision course, and there was virtually nothing that I could do to stop myself. As soon as I looked up, when he said that, I looked up, and there's the parked car, and I'm in 12th gear, and I'm moving. I mean, if you've been on a bike, you know, if you have a 12 speed or 20 speed, mostly they're all the same. It's just how many different steps you can get there. You know, most bikes are the same thing. By the end, you are going fast. Okay? I am literally about 7 feet from the car, doing what is probably 40 kilometers an hour on this bike right now. And so let's get a fresh thing here. So I hit the car. Okay? I hit the car full force, no time to brake, no time for anything. I just smashed the car. There was nothing to be done. It was just I had to accept my fate. So let's do this as much justice as possible here, alright? Alright, so here's the car. And we'll give it a wheel. Nice. Alright, so there's the car. And here I come along on the bike, and I smash this thing. Okay? There's my one wheel. There's the other wheel. Alright. Get this going here. Yup. And then that, and a bar down, and you know, across, and this thing, and seat thing here, and I'm sitting on this. The important part of this bike drawing here is that here's the bar and here's my handles, okay? And I hit this, and I hit this car, and my body obviously flings forward in this direction. And this is my, like, crotch area, okay? That this flies into. It's my head, a very large head. Whee! I'm flying! Alright, so I hit, and the bar that comes up for the handles my left testicle perfectly lines up with that bar. Perfectly. There couldn't have been, it wasn't a little to the left, it wasn't a little to the right, it was dead smack in the middle of the little handlebar railing thing there. So it basically, all you heard was me hit the car, and then you heard, and that was my body hitting this bar, and I hit I hit the car, and I rolled off onto the ground, like, next to the car over here, and I'm like, oh god. Oh god, my body. What has happened to me? This was such a bad life choice. Miraculously, my bike was fine. Ryan immediately runs down the hill and is like, oh my god, are you okay? Surely you are in great amounts of pain. And at the time, I was like, you know what? I felt a little bit, it felt painful. But it wasn't that bad. Which, it's called adrenaline. If you've ever been in an accident or something that's hit, or you're in a fight or anything like that, you don't feel pain like you do when you're not. So I had a massive rush of adrenaline, obviously, right before I, like, smacked the back of that car. So I just crushed the back of the car on the ground. I have adrenaline, so I'm not feeling too bad. I'm like, you know what? No, I'm okay. I'm not too bad. Alright, I'm okay. So we go about the rest of our day. I take the bike inside. I'm actually not doing too bad. Take the bike inside. It aches a little bit, but it's whatever. We go back inside. We hang out for the rest of the day. And then Ryan goes home. I end up spending the rest of the night at Brian's down at the end of the street. Okay. So if we... I go to Brian's and we're playing, like, I think that was around the time we were still playing Legend of Dragoon. Alright. This is the rough layout of the whole street. Like I said, I lived on a crescent. Okay. Brian lives up at the corner. I lived down here in the middle of the street. And again, scale is bad, but there are about 7 houses in between, 7 or 8 houses in between the two with fairly big lots between the two of us. Alright, so we're down at Brian's. I end up spending the night at Brian's. Okay? We're having a good time. We're playing Legend of Dragoon. We're getting through our stuff. We're listening to that, like, hot Nelly Fire Country Grammar CD over and over again on repeat, and even putting in that South Park album, listening to Blaine Canada and Suck on My Chocolate Salty Balls. We had all the good stuff, playing the good old classics. And I end up waking up at about 6 o'clock in the morning, and we're in Brian's room, and I was, sleeping on the floor or whatever, and I woke up at about 6 o'clock in the morning to, no joke, the most pain I have ever experienced in my entire life. There has not been another moment in time in my life that I have experienced such immense amounts of pain. The adrenaline had long since worn off, and the pain woke me up from my sleep. Trying to describe it, the pain, it obviously emanated from my fucking, like, ball, obviously, that I smashed. But it emanated up on like the inside, where if a dude ever gets hit in the nuts, you know what I'm talking about, but it was amplified about 1,000,000 times. Up like that little line, up in underneath the pelvic area, wrapped around my entire abdomen, went down the inside of my leg, like along that tendon there that's on the inside of your leg, down out to my heel. and it also came all the way up my side to about halfway up my rib cage. And that was the area of pain that I was experiencing at this time, and it was like it was crippling. I couldn't stand. I couldn't walk. And I had to I was like, this is not good. This is GG. I need to get home. And so Brian's mom woke up when she heard me, like, I'm crawling down the fucking hallway. Like, I crawl okay. I'm crawling down the hallway in their house, you know, out of Brian's bedroom. You know, I'll do a new thing right here. So so here's Brian's house, or Brian's the top floor to Brian's house. Okay, Brian's bedroom is this front corner. Okay, that goes over to here. Roughly. Yeah, no, the whole back of it's like this. The master bedroom, their bedroom's on the side there. And it comes into this corner. There's the hallway down here. There are rooms off to the side, and then I've got to get to the front door over here. So this is all rooms over here, or this is one other room. This is a bathroom and the kitchen over here. And so I'm up in Brian's room. The door is right here. Where's my eraser? Okay. And the parents' room is like the door, which is like right here. Okay. I come crawling out of Brian's room. I crawl from here, and I crawl in like excruciatingly slow pace, and I get to about here. When his mother appears at the doorway and is looking at me going, Adam, what's wrong? And I'm looking at her, I went, and I tried to explain to her in words. I was just like, I just need to get home. Like, I'm in a really rough shape. She was like, are you sure? Do you not want some breakfast or something before you... And I was like, no, I appreciate it, but I really need to get home right now. And she's like, okay, well, do you want me to, like, drive you or something? And I was like, she was saying all these words, and I didn't hear words. I was just on my own little world, just on my own journey. I needed to get GTFO. So I got down here, I crawled down the stairs, I got out the front door, I crawled down the front concrete steps, and started my journey home. So this is where, again, we remember that in the grand scheme of things, this being, wow, let's be a little bit more accurate than that. In the grand scheme of things, I'm up here, my house is down here, and the distance between here and here is pretty substantial. So I'm crawling out of the house, and it's 6 o'clock in the morning, and people are going to work, and I'm just... There's no sidewalk. I'm in the road. I'm just kind of literally on my hands and knees, crawling in weird, zigzaggy, fever-pitch patterns all the way down here, and finally I get to my house. You know, people have been staring at me as I'm crawling down the street at 6 o'clock in the morning. And I crawl up my front steps, and the door is locked because my parents aren't awake yet. And I'm like, oh my god. Oh, this can't be happening. This can't be happening. How old was I at the time? I think I was around like 11 or 12. Maybe, yeah, 11 or 12. Maybe 13. So, I'm crawling all the way to my house, and I knock on the door, and I'm pounding on the door, and I'm pounding on the door. I can't reach the doorbell. And eventually, my dad comes to the door. He goes, what is wrong? Why are you on your knees? What is wrong? It's 6:30 in the morning. What are you doing here? And I was like, just let me in the house. I was like, Dad, just let me in the house. I'll explain when I get inside. Just let me in the house. Oh my God. At this point, I kind of dragged myself to my feet to get up, and I could pace, but I was like pacing on the floor, and I was pacing upstairs, but I was like bent over. So because I couldn't stand up straight. So this was my torso, and those are my legs. Or it was probably, actually it was even more than that. It was like, this is my torso, this is my legs. And I had my hands, on my, this doesn't fucking work that way. But I had my hands, like, wrapped around my stomach. Kind of like this, kind of like, oh God, why? And I was just pacing the floor this way, right? Just kind of doing my thing. And I was so crippled over, and my parents kept asking me, what's wrong, what's wrong, what's wrong? And I said, yesterday I hit our next door neighbor's car on my bike, and I explained to them what happened, and I was like, I am in so much pain. And Mom was like, well, you need to go to the hospital. And I said, what do you... No, I don't want to go to the hospital. I've, you know... I've never been to, like, hospitals, like, in my life. I barely ever go to them because I'm never sick. I never have any issues. And whatever. And I'm not a huge fan of hospitals. So I was like, no, I'm not. I don't need to go to the hospital. And they were like, are you sure? I was like, no, I don't want to go to the hospital. She said, alright, well, we're going to give you some pain medication, and if it doesn't help, then I'm going to take you down to the hospital. I said, sure. Okay. Whatever. So, I take 2, like, extra strength pain relievers. And, an hour goes by, and they did absolutely nothing. I didn't feel even 5% better than I had just previously. Not even a little bit. I felt just as shitty, not a lick of that help, even a little bit. I'm still pacing the floor. I'm still feeling like death. And so, Mom says, alright, well, guess what? It's time to go down to the hospital. I said, well, shit. Okay, fine. We'll go to the hospital. At this point, right before we go, my dad says, alright, look, I need to see what happened. And, you know, I'm 12. I'm like, Dad, I really don't want to have to, like, I'm like, you know, at 12 years old, you're like, Dad, I'm a grown man. I don't want you looking at my junk. And he was like, well, suck it up, because you just, like, crushed your fucking testicle on a car. I'm gonna have to see what it's like. I need to see what the situation is. So I'm like, alright, well, fine, whatever. So I dropped trowel, and, like, it wasn't a pretty sight. It wasn't a pretty sight. I mean, it was easily, like, 4 times the size of my right nut. Like, actually 4 times the size of my right nut. We're talking the difference here is like an actual baseball used in, like, the MLB versus a regular ass fucking testicle. So, I mean, if this is my testicle, and the unfortunate part of all this, so here's my, just for scale, here's my left testicle. Okay, this is the one that I hit. And then here's like my right testicle. Okay? Now this one over here is just kind of, it is what it is. It's where's my paint bucket? It's you know, it's whatever. It's my normal little, like, friggin' testicle. All right? But this one over here is about 50 shades of everything under the rainbow. I mean, we're talking colors that I don't even associate with humans in any way, shape, or form. We're talking, like, several shades of blue. We got obviously a lot of purple. I mean, I had, like, probably several large veins in that nut broken. There was some red in and around the area of like where it actually was hit. There was even some weird shades of yellow in places, because, you know, bruising goes that purple yellow weird mix kind of thing. And right in and around the edges of some of the purple, there was even, like, shades of fucking green. I mean, I looked like a party favor gone wrong. Like, it was a confetti testicle. Shit was just wrong. Like, every friggin' color in the world. It's a rainbow testicle. And my dad, like, literally he saw it and he was trying not to overreact. He said, okay, yeah, let's go to the hospital. Let's go to the hospital. So, we get in the car, and I can barely sit. Because if I have to sit, that means that my balls have to be close together. There's not a hell of a lot of room right now for my balls in my pants. Because my left testicle is now the size of a small African nation. And there is no room in my pants for any of this nonsense to be happening. So we get into the car, and we drive down to the emergency room. And we're in the emergency room, and, you know, everybody's got varying things, and my dad explains to the person at the desk what the situation is, and she says, okay, is it life-threatening? And he said, no, but, you know, it's not great. She said, okay. And we were there for, like, 3 hours. Because there were some people in there, like, legit messed up. There were some people in some really rough situations. But, we were there, and then, like, 3 hours in or something, the nurse comes out and says my name. And, I get up, and we go into the, one of the offices there behind the waiting room. And I went in, and I, you know, the guy tells me to sit, you know, sit down on this thing, and you're, you know, the person that will be serving you will be here shortly. And, so like 5 minutes go by, my mom and dad are in this room as well with me, and this woman comes in, it's a nurse, relatively young, and I'm thinking, oh great, so I'm 12 years old, I've got this friggin' confetti party favor testicle, fireworks going off in my pants right now, and now I've got to, like, show my junk to this fucking woman, why not? So, you know, she says I gotta take pants off, so I friggin' take the pants off, and there I am, standing there, you know, my, like, fucking, everything's just looking like a mess down there. It looks like a freaking bull went through a china shop. Everything's falling apart down below. And I'll never forget to this day, and neither will my mother, she just still tells this part of the story quite frequently. Is she's sitting there and she's just looking at my junk, and it's, you know, and it went on for like a good 15-20 seconds. And she's just looking at my junk, and I'm like, alright, you know, this is great, but could you maybe do something other than stare at me? And she looks up at me, and she actually says these words. Which one is it? I stared blankly back at her for a good maybe 5-7 seconds, trying to figure out if she was being serious or if she was just that stupid. Couldn't quite figure out which one of them it was, but I figured my response would be appropriate in either way, and I said to her, it would be the massive one on the left. She looks back down at my junk. Says, ah, yes, I see. Oh, good, good. I'm glad I had to explain to you which one it was, because it would have been very difficult to tell, but go about your business. And so, the next thing that happened was, at this point, I didn't think it could possibly get any more ridiculous, right? I'm exposed to the world. I'm in here with my parents, with this relatively young nurse who just had to ask me which testicle was the one that was messed up, when one is normal and one looks like fucking Richard Simmons threw up on my dick. And she asks me another interesting question. She said, alright, now I'm going to do something. And what I need you to let me know is if it hurts. I said, okay. Alright. And without me having time to react to this, she goes down near my junk. And I'm going to bring the camera up for a second. She goes down near my junk and she does this. Oh, wait, the camera's like all freaking glowy and shit. Whatever, you can see this shit. She does this. I'm going to repeat that one more time. One more time. She does this. She flicked me in my Richard Simmons vomit, rainbow, confetti, blown up, monstrous ass testicle. And she was wondering if that hurt. And I said to her, I said, you know, after screaming like a schoolgirl, okay? Because I'm gonna let you know right now. I cried a little. It happened. She flicked and I went, ah! Ah! And about two or three doctors ran into the room at the same time. And we're like, what's happening? What's happening? And the nurse stands back up. She goes, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And I looked at her and I said, you know, I could have told you that was going to hurt without you doing that. In fact, if you had done that to my perfectly normal testicle, that would have still sucked. Why, oh why, did you have to do that? So I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I apologize. I'm just so sorry. Oh my goodness. And so the other two doctors comes in, and one of the doctors looks down at my junk as well while he's in the room, because why not? Everybody's just, you know, at this point I'm just used to it. I'm just kind of like, hey, what up? Check out my fucking my man meat and my giant testicle. Just take a good look. Take a picture too. And he comes over and he goes, wow, that is quite something. He said, can I ask you a question? And I was like getting really tired of questions at this point, but I said, yeah, sure, go ahead. He said, I've got some students out here in medical school that could they come in here and we could do the rest of this procedure and they can see this? And my dad is face palming in the background. Right now, I'm looking up my dad's face palming, and rubbing his forehead, and my mom's still in shock that she just flicked me in the friggin' testicle. Okay? And I actually, like, I gave zero fucks at this point. This is the other part my mom always says. I looked at him right in the eye and I said, you know what? The more the merrier. Sure, it's a party in here. Bring them all in. Who cares? And so they brought in like a bunch of like these students, young guys and girls, and they're all just staring at my friggin' Richard Simmons vomit rainbow confetti ass giant planetary sized testicle. And you know, nurse is like over there like friggin' squeezing it and shit, and I'm like dying on the table, and at the end of the day, they send me home and they said, all right, so lots of ice, lots of Tylenol 3s, and eventually this will just go down, and you didn't rupture it, so it's okay. It's just gonna hurt for a while. So I said, great, thank you very much for all of your assistance today. Thank you specifically, nurse, for basically causing me the most agony I've ever experienced in my life. It's good that I now know what the pain of birth is like. I'm going to go home and watch The Price is Right now. So we got back in the car. Got back home. And I was in bed, and anytime I was not out doing something. This luckily happened in the summertime, where I wasn't having to go to school. Before I could go out and play again with any sort of comfort, it was a month. It still hurt. And I still had that bike. I could ride the bike, but it hurt to ride the bike. And we were playing 500 Up one day. And if you don't know what 500 Up is, it's basically a game where you use a ball and baseball gloves, and somebody is the thrower, and you throw the ball as high as you can in the air, and you call a number, and that's how many points, whoever catches the ball, it's how many points that they get. Until somebody gets 500, then they win, and you continue. We're playing 500 Up, and somebody throws the ball super high and calls jackpot. And if you call jackpot, that's a 500-point ball. Whoever catches that ball wins. Just period. There it is. End of the round. Bam. Jackpot. You win. And so I'm going for it. My bike is parked on or kickstanded next to the curb where we're playing. And I'm running over to catch this ball. I'm running for this ball. I'm looking up. I'm not even looking where I'm going. And what happens? I catch the ball, but I run into my bike. And that bike has those bull horns on the sides. Right? So, handles. Bull horns. Right? My bike was like, hoy, 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 hoy. So, the bike knocks over. And one of the bull horns lands right inside, so on the inside of my thigh. Here is my rainbow testicle. And this is my leg in the inside area where the bullhorn hit. We're talking within an inch and a half of hitting my rainbow testicle. Okay? But to give you an idea of how hard I came down on that bull handle, when I got up, it had partially broken the skin on the inside of my leg, and I had basically a Canadian dollar-sized coin, coin-sized mark. Similar in color to my rainbow testicle. On the inside of my leg, down here, it broke the skin on the bottom hand side. And that was through shorts. And I had that mark and that scar on my leg for like 3 years. And to give you an idea of how long it took before I was completely back to normal with my rainbow testicle, it took 3 months for it to go back down to normal size. It took 6 months for me to be able to ride a bicycle without it hurting. And it took a full year for it to go completely back to normal where I didn't feel anything. And I didn't have this scar on the inside of my leg. And my ball was back to normal and everything was hunky-dory. That's the time frame of healing for the rainbow testicle. Thankfully, I am still able to have children. I did not kill myself in that regard, but it is without a doubt the most pain I have ever had in my life. I doubt that even getting a limb cut off is any more painful than what I experienced over the course of those couple of days. That is the end of the rainbow testicle story, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you never have to experience such agonizing pain in your lifetime, especially you guys out there. Hopefully you enjoyed that story. Maybe it will teach you to never look down at your gears while pedaling your bike. I'll see you next time.